Hi guys, this is the first episode of a small series meant to show you the ropes of animation on the web. This episode is going to focus on CSS transitions, which are generally the quickest and easiest of methods to add animation to an interface. So let's get started with a simple example. I'm going to make a div class of box, and in our style sheet, box is going to be 100 pixels wide by 100 pixels tall and have a background color of salmon. Let's take a look at that. There we go, there's our salmon box. Okay, and now in our style sheet, we are going to make a new declaration. We're going to use the same class, box, and then we're going to use the pseudo class, hover. Now, if you don't know much about pseudo classes, that's fine, I'll go more into them in a different video, but for now, all you need to know is that anything that's declared here will activate on the element box whenever it's hovered on. So what we're going to be changing here is the background color. It's going to change from salmon to dark red when the user hovers over it. Let's have a look at that and see if it works. And there we go, there's your first transition. There's more you can add into this, like transition delay. 1 second. Which will add you have to hover over it for a second for it to happen, and when you hover off it takes a second for it to reverse. But when you start getting this big, I kind of rather use the shorthand. So we go where this is the property, duration, and delay here, which, as you can see, has the same effect. You can animate multiple properties as well. For example, width. Let's go for width over 2 seconds and width going to 500 pixels. As you can see, they both happen over their own specified times. Now you can also trigger delays for these guys. So for example, let's make it so this is a delay of 0 on the background color, because when the other ones have delays you have to specify. So what should happen here is once the background color animation finishes, because it's half a second long, the width animation should start, because it starts after half a second. Let's give it a look. And there we go. This can be very useful for chaining animations and doing kind of slightly more complicated things timing wise. Using combinations of these transitions, you can make some relatively complex animations without a whole lot of effort and with no JavaScript. The main limitation in transitions is that they can only change between 2 states. So for example, we couldn't make a div cycle through multiple colors. CSS animations, on the other hand, can, and we'll be covering those in the next video. Next up is the timing functions, and now there's quite a few of these. A timing function is pretty much the rate at which a transition is carried out, which can involve speeding up and slowing down during the transition. They're based off Bezier curves and are a little hard to explain without a visual example, so we're going to take a look at a few different examples side by side. But first, I'm just going to show you how to put it into your CSS. That's simple enough. Ease in is one, and linear is another, so they just go in between your duration and your delay. And if I was to save this and go, if you notice the difference, congratulations. If you don't worry. They're kind of hard to see the difference between one after the other. It's a lot easier to see side by side. So I'm going to make an example of each one of these and put them on top of each other so you can kind of see the difference. It's quite tedious though, so I'm just going to pause the video until I'm done. Now that's done, let's take a look at the difference. As you can see, it's not huge, but they can contribute to the feeling or the vibe of an animation, and you can also create a curve for yourself to more accurately control the transition timing, but we'll get into that in another video. That pretty much takes care of it for this episode, so hope you learned something, and there's some CodePen demos linked in the description below with some examples of transitions and animated elements that you might find useful to pull apart and play around with. So till next time, please like and subscribe to keep up to date on new episodes. Next episode will be all about CSS animations, which I promise are different to transitions.